Ladies and gentlemen, big Ferry news.
Hey, kia ora koutou whānau. Welcome back to another episode of Big Hero News. Kia ora, Chewie.
Kia ora, Pat.
You came in
I don't know what that was.
a huffing and a puffing and mentioning something about a train wreck or something. What have you just been doing, sir?
I don't have a second job being guest moderator of the working groups chat, and I decided my job tonight was to cause as many fights as possible. How dare they give me mod powers and not expect me to use it for evil?
Good fun? Good show?
Yeah, they had a pretty interesting concept to get as many guests on the show as possible and let them talk for maybe a minute and a half, and then let David Seymour lay out a treatise. I mean, I know he doesn't like treaties, but he spoke for a very long time. It seemed like that time dilation planet from Interstellar. I aged listening to him. Very, very boring man.
That could be one of the worst insults, eh? You bore me. Because even if you hate someone, they can spark something in you. But if it's just like bland, I reckon that's one of the worst things to be. Just bland, always bland. Well, I've spent a good portion of today sending off merch, excuse me, and putting stickers into envelopes and sending them off as well. So probably by tomorrow, everyone who's purchased a sticker up until the start of this show, it will be getting sent to you. So it'll be on the way to you. And most people who have bought merch up until now, let's say from 3 or 4 or 5 days ago, most of those people will be on the way as well. So remember, we promised before Christmas we were aiming for the 14th. I think we're gonna do pretty well with probably 95%. There was a few, I made a few errors in the count up, and there was a few things that have meant we've had to, we've got to actually like reorder some t-shirts and that kind of stuff. That was on me. So some of those might come out sort of middle of next week. But what it means is, because we've finally got ahead of it, is I think tomorrow night we're reopening the store with some of the same titles that you know and love, but maybe with some different colours, because we're going to pre-purchase a whole bunch of t-shirts and maybe a few hoodies, but not many, if any. And then people will be able to order through Christmas and stuff, and it's just obviously no guarantees it'll be there before Christmas. So that's probably going to happen tomorrow night. So it's been a busy old day. And if people joining us going, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Well, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about
stickers.
The sticker brigade, our 4 stickers at the moment, NickyNoBoats, who we need to talk about tomorrow, because tomorrow she might be NickyNewBoats, but we'll see.
Oh, the rumours are not good, Pat.
No, I do. And you know what? TV3 got a scoop. I watch TVNZ, but then I look at what's happened on TV3, and TV3 story is much better than the TVNZ story, because they got to see some leaked document. So they actually have more of the answer, which we'll look at tonight as well. And you can buy packs as well, packs of 4 or 8, and they're all there. And to be honest with you, some people, like someone today ordered 2 lots, but they did it in separate orders. So I just threw in a couple of extra stickers to make sure that they felt that they got their values worth, because they paid for 2 posters and they didn't have to. And just so for you guys who are buying these stickers, just so you know, the way we can make it $3 postage, Chewie, is it's basically old school snail mail into an envelope, into the post, coming out to you. So that's the way for those, versus the merch, which obviously goes into a courier bag and gets a tracking number, etc., etc., etc. It does feel kind of weird, someone buying a $5 sticker and then paying $7 to courier it to you. So I thought we'll just go with regular old post, give the postman something to do, Chewie.
I've already been told that my face has been seen on the back of a Honda Fit. So there we go. I'm Honda famous now. So that's good.
There's a few sales of your things in Dunedin. Yep, and orange is out there as well.
This is gonna get fucking weird.
The last time I asked you about the shirt that you're wearing, do you want to show everybody the shirt you're wearing?
It's me. See, look, you can tell.
You were like, "What? Wear my own face?" You approached me with disdain, but you have it on tonight.
No comment.
Your uniform, and this is when you go, "Yeah, you told me to. You're forcing me to." No, I like seeing it on me. Kiwi Bird says the working group made me 4 minutes late. Thank you for the super chat. Made you watch you about 90 seconds late, technically. Mind you, you normally get here about 15 seconds to go. So you weren't that late, really, being here 60 seconds after. Anywho, what's going on? Anything else happening in this world? There's lots of little interesting stories out there at the moment. There's the story about, do you know Brooke Van Velden? She's kind of disappeared. Little interesting story. Plans to reintroduce pay deductions for partial strikes. That one's going. What about this one?
That's the sign of a government where things are going very well, right? Yeah. They start bringing in legislation to prevent people working to rule. Yeah. Which is, just things are going very, very well.
Yep. The cutting IT jobs will cost lives, says IT specialists. Computer systems crucial to every hospital department. IT specialist Burned Watcher, good name, Waititi, has little doubt the cuts to Health New Zealand Te Whatu Ora's team of IT staff would be catastrophic. Te Whatu Ora has proposed a 47% cut to its data and digital team if realised. The 2,405 full-time positions across Aotearoa will drop to 1,285. And he's saying, look, this is the little kind of side topics at the moment, but they're huge in of themselves, just kind of getting dropped in as we come up to Christmas, Chewie.
Now, I actually got a message about this. I meant to bring it up at the time, but this is going to force the issue. I got messaged by someone whose family member was part of that IT group. And just to give you an idea of something that has been cut, is the literal final yards of a decades-long digitization program.
Yep.
To get everybody's systems and records to talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that whole project and all of that work, all of those man hours and the potential of the final product, poof, gone.
Yep.
So if these vandals want to talk about wasteful spending, why is it that something is able to be 99.9% finished and then you just flush it?
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to talk more about that this week, obviously, because Nicola has something to tell us tomorrow.
Yep.
It's not going to be good. It's not going to be... Oh, why have we not used that before? Brooke Van Vandalism.
We may have to steal that one.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah. Jot it down, people. Hashtag Brooke Van Vandalism. Good one, Sarah. Copyright.
That's so good.
And then, yes, look, people are talking about it. Doggies have been banned, the greyhounds. I'm interested in this because, and look, I don't know enough about it, and I completely agree and can see that there is, abusive actions happening within horse riding, everything. I do also think, though, that dogs love to have jobs. Like my dog, she wants to run all the time. And for a dog that's bred to run, like a whippet or a greyhound, so what do you do with them? What do you do with them if they're not going to run? I'm just thinking for their job. Dogs love their jobs. No, please be clear, I'm not saying I'm here supporting the greyhound industry, but it's interesting that you'll have now a whole breed of dogs. And what happens? What do these dogs do in their off days? I don't know how to say that. Do you know what I mean?
Greyhounds, racing dogs, have short, miserable lives.
Yeah.
That is the thing. It's a horrible industry. Like horse racing has more regulation and oversight than greyhound racing does. And this is why you get stories of dogs being abused and culled and fucking taking meth and shit like that. It's just horrible. I have to give it to this government and Winston Peters that they have got this over the line. This is something that anti-greyhound racing organizations and animal welfare organizations have been trying to get across the line for years. And it was something that I think was just going to die in the water when you get someone like Winston, who is so plugged into the racing industry. I didn't think he'd let it move.
Yeah,
So
totally.
as we say, we call it when it's good. This is a good thing, and this government has. This government's done a good thing. But, that's a weird sentence.
It was interesting to watch. It was on One News tonight to watch Chloe. What did she say? Something like, "Yep, you got to give Winston his props. We're with him on this." And it's like, yeah, of course. If it's good policy, it's good policy. Yeah. Woke Winnie says this. Yeah. What about Woke Winnie? Look, and nothing about those dogs. Yeah, I was surprised as well because he is seen as the racing, the racing bastion within government, the racing minister, all those things, and to basically. A huge number of those owners and fans will be his voters because of that. So for him to carte blanche, it's really interesting. It's fascinating times. And of course, then there's also the alleged murderer of the health executive in America has been picked up. And basically most of America is going, he's a bit of a Robin Hood, this guy. I mean, there are people within power and people, within the wealth structure wanting to point out that this man had a family and stuff, but it seems that people who are reliant on the medical fraternity in America aren't that unhappy about what's happened. I mean, obviously, it's the crime in and of itself is, I could never understand it happening. All I'm saying is there are many people in America who don't quite see it as black and white. Someone said something like, you should try and live a life where someone doesn't feel the need to murder you.
Yeah.
We're not about victim blaming here. I'm not saying, I can't even say he brought it on himself. I know there are people who are. All I'm saying is, as an observation, there are many people on the internet, many commentators, especially, left commentators in America, who are going like, well, if you're going to fuck around with people's health and be in charge of the place that denies more people healthcare than anywhere else, karma's going to get you. That's what they're saying, what we're saying.
Look, this is going to make me seem horrible, but that's fine. I've seen some of the best memes of the year come out about this. Like this CEO died doing what he loved, waiting for healthcare that was never going to come. Amateur emergency brain surgery at a rapid rate. This is a guy that was crowing about how he was increasing profit, the returns back to his shareholders because he had managed to increase denials by 34%, is what I read. Just absolutely insane. I saw right-wing YouTube talking heads going on about, we can't just start killing CEOs, and their chats turned on them.
Yeah.
Said, no.
Yeah.
Fuck them.
No. What was it?
Fuck 'em.
Mr. Facts don't care about your feelings. What's his name?
Got absolutely murdered by his own chat.
And that's what showed, actually, this is demonstrating to people that the gap is not necessarily left or right. It's money and none. Ben Shapiro, thank you, yesterday.
And that's real dangerous, right? We want that left-right dichotomy. We don't want to be talking about class war.
Yeah.
Because class wars are a completely different thing. Keep looking at the guy in the red hat. He hates you. Look at the blue-haired lady over here. She hates you. Don't look at Jeffrey Bezos.
Yeah.
Don't look at Musk.
Yeah.
They want you to fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
Ben Shapiro did the whole, this is a tragedy, this is a travesty, yada yada yada, and his audience turned on him in the comments. The other thing that is fascinating to see, who was it? There was someone, I was watching a left commentator today talking about it. It's jumped out of my brain, it doesn't matter. But yeah, lots of people kind of going, well, treat people badly, bad things can happen. And it's interesting to see if this will, I've heard that there are other sort of executives of healthcare and insurance groups and that sort of stuff now having armed guards around them at all times. It's like, yeah, so when you put up, it's what do you expect to happen? It doesn't mean right or wrong. Yeah. Like, what do you expect to happen? Like if you are in charge of a system that seems to be the cornerstone of it seems to be to deny first people's healthcare, which obviously is leading to literal loss of life and harder lives for people. If that's what the system is, what do you expect to happen other than people to want to harm you? Doesn't mean it's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. That's what I was going to say. A left-wing commentator, that might have been Kyle Kalinske, I'm not sure. But I saw, and he was taking apart one of the statements coming out from the sort of the police going, or maybe one of the politicians going, he was a father and a husband. And this commentator went, yeah, so was Osama bin Laden. Didn't use the same thing for that. He didn't come out and go, he was a father and a husband. You know, it was it's a scapegoaty type conversation to deflect from maybe what the real issues are here.
Talking about the race war thing, I saw a clipping from, I think it's 1890 something, where someone was, and I'm not quoting the thing because I don't have it here. I'm going to paraphrase it. But the way to solve our inequality problem is to give every hobo and rough sleeper a pistol and a knife and tell them to sit on the steps of the mansions in the rich part of town, and the problem will solve itself real quick. So I don't know. I'm not encouraging that. Maybe recreationally.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? That idea of like what did one expect to happen? I mean, it's a little bit like when you look at these protests and that kind of stuff. It's like, if you like this government does various things, you know, it would appear to Māori. What do you expect other than Māori to group and to fight back? Now, because the group that are doing this, New Zealand, are peaceful, and you don't have the issue, right, that we're talking about. But what if you're going to put harm in the way of someone? What do you expect other than fight back? Here in New Zealand, in the protests, we're seeing peaceful fight back. In America, slightly different because they have slightly easier access to particular things that can launch bullets at you.
People have studied this. The tipping points in society where inequality gets so top heavy, shit starts to happen. I think this is fascinating. That it's happening in just a very much a meme environment. It is just unfurled. Like, who would have thought 3 or 4 days ago that we'd be talking about how hot this guy was, and that it might be that he goes to trial and the jury goes, yeah, okay, there's overwhelming evidence and that sort of thing, but we don't want to convict him. You know, there's thirst traps of this guy. Yeah. With his shirt off, and people are going, oh my God, this CEO murder is fucking hot.
It'll be really interesting when he gets in front of a jury of his peers. And if that jury of his peers have received, you know, shithouse service from an insurance company, it'll just be interesting to see what happens. I guess you got to justice is supposed to be blind, but we'll see.
I also want to note that the McDonald's worker that turned him in is a class traitor.
One other story that I noticed today as well, I was just looking it up, trying to find how much New Zealand spends on television advertising each year. And I'm struggling to find what it is, but I did find the number of 500 million per quarter. So maybe it's a couple of $1 billion. And so what the government thought they'd do to help is they thought they would repeal broadcasting ad prohibitions on Sundays and public holidays. Oh my God. And guess what, Chewie? If those numbers are correct and it's $2 billion, this is going to be the thing that solves the problem with the industry, because look, it's expected to generate $6 million more dollars. So, you know, problem solved out of $2 billion, because $2 billion companies are falling over, but $2 billion, $6 million, problem solved.
Yeah, because you can't possibly put more public funding into these institutions. There are people out there that don't believe in things like New Zealand On Air, and the only way that anything should have any justification for airtime here in New Zealand is if it pays for itself. And I think those people want the cultural landscape of this country to be akin to a windswept empty car park.
Yeah. just lots of interesting little, well, they're not little stories, but there's lots of interesting stories in the news today, ramping up to everyone, because apparently come Christmas Day, there's no news. Officially, all news finishes on Christmas Day. But if this government's got anything to do with it, news will finish, but advertising will start. There's something really nice about Christmas Day, Easter Sunday, having no advertising. It's just something. I mean, I don't live a life anymore where, you watch TV on a Christmas Day, but I can remember as a kid, always watch a movie, It would always be a movie on Easter Sunday on TV, and it was like the one time that you actually got to watch a movie like it was on a video or at the movies or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just kind of cool. Oh, there we go. James has just helped us out there. Where'd you get that from, James? There you go, 2.006 billion. So there's 2 billion in television. James, are you with me on this, James? Because I was looking up television advertising, because it's not going to change anything on, in print. And this is going to generate a whole $6 million more, Chewie. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. That's the answer to many a prayer out there of saving our media companies. I know I've already kind of mentioned this, but just to remind people, we do have the merch drop going on at the moment. We have still got Nicky No. She can't cut us off. I'm worried that she's going to ruin our sales pitch for tomorrow, Chewie, when she comes in and says there's going to be boats coming. So NickyNoBoats is still there. I think whether she announces boats tomorrow or not, this is still a very valid one to wear. So that's still available, still up there right now. Tomorrow, what is it today? Tuesday. I'll say by Thursday. We'll just see what happens with the packaging tomorrow, but probably tomorrow night at the show, we will have back again some Chewie Fufu tops and some BHN tops and some Buffer, the Tino Rangatiratanga tops back as well. So they're probably all coming back. They're going to be in different colours. What we're doing, just so you know, Whānau, but behind the curtain, is we're going to use the same coloured T-shirt for all of them. They all look really good on that rust colour. So we're going to use rust for all of them, which means we can then order a bunch of rust and we don't have to worry about running out of stock if people do want to buy them. So that's what we're going to do. The NickyNoBoats will stay blue. We've got lots of blue left. We're going to get black and rust, and we're going to throw all the other ones back up there. And I have to tell you, I've seen that Buffer one there, that one there on rust. It's hot.
Yeah,
it looks pretty damn good. It looks pretty damn good. This one here in the middle, it's a bit embarrassing. Maybe I'll have to order some orange ones, because that orange is fire. It's like, there's something about that orange that is pretty dope. So maybe I'll think about it. Do a limited run of oranges for the orange man. BHNshop.nz, and also thank you to the patrons who are joining up. I've just in the last hour or so sent out an email to all of our paid patrons that there's going to be a meetup this Saturday that Chewie will forget about. And it's at 11 in the morning. Even if you set an alarm, you're still going to forget about it. 11 in the morning. It's the last one for the year. If you haven't done it before, we just get together for about 40 minutes. You guys have a chance to share your thoughts. We want to hear from you, our patrons, who are, one of the reasons we're able to do it. To be honest, without the patrons, this would have stopped a long time ago, because it's now, I wouldn't quite say paying for itself, but it's now not having to be funded out of the back pocket. So it's sort of breaking even, if that makes any kind of sense whatsoever. So there you go. Become a patron. Come chat with us on Saturday morning at patreon.com/Big Hairy News. Are you doing something snarky now because of what I just said?
No, I'm just setting my alarm, and I'm just making sure that I pick something that will get my attention. Unsupported audio file. That's not good.
That's good. You should do it. We should have like the BHN theme song as a ringtone. Oh, we should totally do that. That'd be dope.
There you go. I'll definitely hear that.
All right, cool. So now there's a 50% chance Chewie will be there, because now he'll probably hear it, but he'll go, nah. I'm on my fourth cocktail already. It's only 11 a.m. Something like that.
That is the baller life that I live.
Hey, let's do this thing. We're just talking about Nicky. And I watched this on 1, but then I caught it on 3 off the interwebs, and 3 have a much better story because they have some of the details that they've seen about this big announcement tomorrow.
3 News can reveal Cabinet has agreed to set aside $900 million to buy 2 new Cook Strait.
Now remember, the other 2 massive IREX ones were like $550 million. So these guys are paying, not quite twice as much again, just for the ferries.
Ferries. They'll be smaller than the previous new ships, which had a price tag of $551 million for 2.
There you go.
But that original project had an overall budget of $3 billion, which included major upgrades to ports. And as senior political correspondent Jenna Lynch explains, the ports will now be expected to fund the majority of any necessary upgrades themselves.
So here's the question that a journalist needs to ask NickyNoBoats.
What does that mean? Where do they get the money from?
Will the overall cost of this project, including the ports and the boats and the break fees, if you added all of those together, will it be less than $3 billion? I'd be prepared to place a large wager on the fact that it won't. And the only way they're able to do it is to basically turn the ports into user pays. Now, there are some words that are said in this clip where NickyNoBoats says things like our preferred choice or our preference is. And you're like, hang on, you don't even know yet? Because as soon as you say it's our preference, what you're saying is this is one of the options on the table. Listen real closely when that comes out.
Anchors away, the government's finally sailing toward a ferry fix. Just don't talk about it until tomorrow.
I'd love to give you some answers, but you need to wait until we make the announcement, which will be very shortly, as I said.
3 News has seen part of a paper which went to ministers, which details that $900 million has been set aside for the ships, while extra has been set aside for landside development costs.
The overall project costs will be lower than they would have been with Project Alex.
Crucially, driving...
Yeah, lower because we're not going to do anything to the wharves. Now, if they don't need to upgrade the wharves... But if they don't need to upgrade the wharves, that means tiny ferries. If they need the wharves or the ports to pay for that, then that's still a part of the overall cost. The government's just going, well, we're going to spend less because we're going to make them pay for it, which means us. Remember, when it was being paid for before, we were already paying for that, but we had a great deal. Now they're saying you guys can pay for it, and then we get to say we're less than Labour. Well, you are less than Labour, but spending less than Labour, Chewie.
They are going to make this sound good by literally taking a chunk of the project out. That's the only way that they can make it work. And then it's going to get spoon-fed back to us because the ferries are going to be more expensive because every time they pull into port, they have to pay the port for the money for the upgrades. It is a street hustler card trick. They all think we're stupid.
It's the shell game.
Fantastic. Everything about IREX, everybody that commented on it said that we got a fucking sweet deal out of Hyundai, that it was a well put together project. The only people that said that it wasn't was National, based on nothing at all. They were that's not quite true. Not based on nothing. Is it not?
Based on the fact that they were trying to say Labour bad. So that's what they were trying to do.
Okay. So they were ferries that were designed to be future-proof. They were bigger because of our larger population, our heavier trucks. Rail-enabled. Now, there was a comment from Kiwi Rail this week that said, if these ferries aren't rail-enabled, we literally can't get rails to the South Island, and we'll have to build a production facility in the South Island so we can replace and build railway tracks. So are we going to factor in how much one of those costs?
Yeah, interesting.
No, why would we do that? The port facilities, we're talking about port facilities that are over 100 years old. Like, it needs to be done anyway. The one in Picton, it's already started and they just hit pause on it. This whole thing is so dumb. This should be, if only it was the only thing that would sink this government, the utter omni-shambles of this. I assume we will only get to see its full, glorious unfurling tomorrow. But there is no hope here. It is going to be a disaster.
Well, let's keep listening because, like I said, listen out for those words that make it sound like they don't have a final solution yet. Keep listening for them.
Down cost, the paper details that the ports are to fund as much landside infrastructure as possible.
Now, first of all, there's a word, as much as possible. What does that mean? We can afford $1 million, so we'll do $1 million. They are to fund as much as possible. What the hell does that mean when it comes to making this legislation? Listen to it again.
Are to fund as much landside infrastructure as possible.
So in other words, the ports are going to have to come forward with some money, it sounds like, to whatever they can afford. And then who pays the rest? Does that then come back to the government? Does that then go to a PPP? What comes next? So these are the words that I'm intrigued about for tomorrow.
And should look to recoup those costs through user pays.
User pays.
Are consumers going to pick up the tab for portside infrastructure if you make the ports pay for that?
Well, we will be making announcements about our preferred ferry solution later.
Did you get it? Preferred ferry solution. Preferred means there's options, Chewie. So they're making an announcement tomorrow and they have a preferred option. That means there's at least one other option which isn't quite as preferred. These are the words that have caused me to go, oh, what are we going to get tomorrow?
We'll be making announcements about our preferred ferry solution later in the week.
Preferred.
Labour fears that will mean increased costs of freighting, a tab that will be picked up by consumers.
The ferries themselves are not going to be cheaper. So they're going to be buying more expensive ships.
Yep.
I think what they're doing is being a bit dishonest here by including cutting back on wharf and terminal upgrades and saying that that's somehow going to save money.
Only exacerbated if the smaller ships do not have drive-on, drive-off capability for trains.
Horrendously expensive. They're going to, we're estimating $150 to $200 per container. And then if you look at the extra turnaround time for all the tonnage that's going to be on these vessels, that's going to be a cost as well.
The paper also outlines that Cabinet will set up a schedule for a company, a Crown-owned company like the Kiwi Group, which owns Kiwibank, to procure the ferries.
Why did ACT, the party of smaller government, agree to creating a schedule for a company?
Because this is going to be one of the most effective ways. Sorry, what are you actually talking about?
Talking about the ferries.
Oh, I was trying to think what you were talking about.
ACT's leader catching himself before he let a Cabinet secret slip.
Well, if Cabinet had agreed on a 4A company, I wouldn't be giving that away or talking about it.
New Zealand First, a long proponent of rail, wouldn't be drawn on whether the ships will be rail-enabled.
Yeah, interesting, eh? Yeah. Actually, look, something you've said tonight I'd never really thought of. So you're actually saying that there's nowhere in the South Island that builds rail anymore. So
no,
therefore...
That's what Kiwi Rail said, their production facility for rails, which are 72 metres long, I believe. So they can't go on a
if it's not rail enabled, you can't get rail product from the north to not just about your stuff on the rails, but the physical rail like carriages and stuff themselves. I mean, is that physically? Can it go into a boat? Do you have any ideas? Or do they have to boat them down?
So this is the ridiculous nature of it all, right? So at the moment we have one rail-enabled ferry in service. So down here in Dunedin we have the Hillside Works, which is making and refurbishing rail rolling stock carriages and that sort of thing. So yeah, they come down on that ferry. But what Kiwi Rail is talking about is the actual rails themselves need to be transported on a rail carriage. They can't go on a truck. They're too long.
You mean the physical, hang on, when you say the rails, the physical rails that the wheels sit on.
Rails that make a railway are made in the North Island and need to be transported on a rail carriage on a ferry. So if these new ferries that Nicky is talking about are not rail enabled, that means that the current rail enabled ferry remains the only option for that, which is it's at the end of its life now.
Wow.
And then everything we've talked about freight shipments. So you can rail travel freight to the port, and then it needs to be taken off the railway carriage, put on a truck, and then the process reversed at the other end, which obviously takes time, it takes space, it takes more staff. It's just double handling everything on each end.
But it's also basically just going, this fleet of trucks, they're just going to be used to sit on the ferry because they're going to drive onto the ferry, drive off the ferry, unload, drive onto the ferry, drive off the ferry, unload.
You can see that they have these special little wee shunting trucks that go on the ferry. They don't leave the port. And we have those options now because most of the ferries are not rail enabled. I've spoken at length about this government's absolute lack of vision and long-term thinking, and this is just shining a big-ass spotlight on it.
Yeah, all right.
We're looking at several severe challenges in this country. We have a growing population and everything that goes with it. We needed bigger ferries. We're not going to get them. We're looking at a critical infrastructure project. And like I keep mentioning this, the Southern Fault could go at any moment.
Yeah.
And it's just like nobody's thinking about that. It probably happened in my lifetime. It's crazy. Yeah, it takes landlords are happy. Yeah, that's why we're not doing it. And remember that every time.
Let's get to the end of this.
Yeah, so once again, let's just tie-ho until our pawpaw brings that result.
But as part of the negotiations over the policy, 3 News understands that Winston Peters has been given ministerial responsibility for rail. Not that he would confirm it.
How much will New Zealand be better off having a New Zealand First Minister in charge of Kiwi Rail again?
I reckon you better go and see your leak because it's got everything wrong.
I think it's really important that Kiwi Rail get their act together, though.
They will with Winston in charge, won't they?
No. I mean, there's a lot of management challenges and a need for them to be a lot more industrially proficient.
Again, we'll talk about ferries when we're ready to make the announcement. As I said,
make more concessions than that.
We'll have more to say about it very shortly.
A decision coming soon, though so is Christmas.
Well, Jenna,
that was a good one. That was a good line at the end. So it's Christmas. That was a pretty good report, though. Overall, good scoop there. There's a game you play in theatre sports where you need to try and make the person say yes or no. So you're not allowed to say yes or no. Mm-hmm. And the way you get people all the time who are good at it, you basically repeat something back to them. So you say something to me and I repeat it back to you. Oh, did you just say yes? And they go, no, I didn't say yes. Oh, and it's what she basically was doing to the politicians when she asked about Winston there. She was trying to get them just to go in there. Look, this is just things of nightmares, because they're going to do the shell game that we've been talking about since pre-election, and they're going to say, well, technically, what we're paying for these lesser quality. Remember what we said? We said they will pay more and they will get less. We just found out that they're going to pay $900 million for a lesser product than the world-class 2 other ones, which would have cost them $550. So they're going to try and sell it as they're paying less. Okay, let's include the break fees. Okay, let's include the ports that you're making other people. What's the overall budget now? Forget if it's just not the government, but the whole thing. And it's guaranteed to be more than $3 billion for a lesser product, Chewie. It's just an absolute nightmare. These guys, man, talk about economic vandals. Like, this is actual vandalism, because this is going to impact New Zealand for the next 50 years.
It's sabotage.
Yeah.
Sabotage and vandalism. And look, I know we know that there's media that watches this show. I beg of you.
I
beg of you, on my fucking hands and knees, compare these 2 projects and what's being spent at their full extent. Like, if they're going to cut out the wharf infrastructure out of the project to make it look like we've saved a lot of money, go to the ports and say, how much are you going to have to spend? Ports of Wellington, Picton.
Yeah.
Because we want to include it in a like-for-like comparison. What's the tonnage? What's the tonnage of freight? How much time is going to be lost by double handling freight on both ends? How much is a facility that makes railway lines going to cost to set up in the South Island?
Sounds like we need to get Craig Rennie on. Craig Rennie is the man that works all those things out to the cent. Sounds like we need to message Craig. Hey, Craig, do you want to come on? Sure, we will.
It still hasn't been confirmed how much we're paying the Koreans for supplying nothing.
Yeah.
Like, these are all things that need to be put out on the line like linen after you've shit the bed. Because that's what Nicola's done. She has shit this bed and has spent the majority of the year going, don't look at my shitty sheets. I didn't shit the bed. Somebody else was in my house beforehand and shit the bed.
I just have concepts of a shit bed, but not the actual. That's not me.
It definitely wasn't me. Don't look at me.
Luke says, have they told the ports? Thank you for your super chat. It's a very good question. I'm sure the ports found out probably this evening. If 3 News is getting a scoop, the the ports won't know yet, because if the ports knew, there'd be other leaks around the place.
Why would the ports know ahead of time? Nobody near this has known ahead of time. The Koreans were told by text a half hour up before the announcement. Why would anybody else get more than that?
Kiwi Bird says, I hope Nicky tells us tomorrow she is resigning. Good luck. We were hoping that with Mark Mitchell, but that's not going to happen. Some other bits and bobs as well. James Black, late due to being fooled by daylight outside. We had, who was it? Oh, it was Magenta down here from Wellington. And she's like, gosh, it's still so light at 9:30. It's like, yep, welcome to the bottom of the world, dude. Ho and Angel, the ruling class engage in permanent puppy kicking, then act shocked when the dog finally bites back. That was speaking of the insurance, the head of the insurance. And Wooming says in media, good news, the whole 3 News Hub library was donated to Tonga. That's 12,639 news bulletins and over 400,000 stories on 18,000 tapes. Yeah, I saw that as well from Warner Brothers Discovery. Yeah, I mean, I guess it has literally no value. I guess the only value it would have for them is they then put it into a database and charge people to use it. But the amount of time you'd have to do it, it's hardly worth it. Seems hardly worth it. So anyway, tomorrow, you know what? Like, if I might even keep my eye open for the news conference, Whānau. So if you're watching us on YouTube right now, make sure you subscribe and make sure you hit the notification bell, because if they do a live press conference, I might even jump in live and have a look at it with you. So hit that notification bell if you haven't done so already. Certainly follow us on whatever platform you're watching, but in particular YouTube. And if we don't see you tomorrow afternoon, look, there'll also be politicians the world over wanting to talk about this. So actually, it's probably a good time to mention tomorrow night, we have Melanie Nelson coming back on. Melanie came on last time in a pre-recorded conversation. Remember the conversation with Melanie there? She is a Māori translator, and she's been doing some more work around what's happening with the treaty and stuff at the moment. So Melanie is going to come on tomorrow night and give us some updates. She's writing some exposés and some academic works, and so we'll have a talk to her. But I'm sure if we want to, there's probably politicians will be gagging at the bit, is that the right saying, to come on as well. So we might get a couple of people on tomorrow night to figure it out.
You might want to hit that latest super chat, Pat, before we move on.
The latest super chat, Pat. The latest super chat, Pat. You wouldn't. Campbell, thank you for the super chat. Sorry, I'm a little behind. Kiwi Rail here. Non-rail enabled ferries will add at least $600 per container across Inter-Islander. Whoa.
You know, when they talk about cost of living, that will affect the price of everything in those containers.
Let me answer with this. You know a little bit about the retail world. Let's say if there's products selling in a no leeming in Dunedin, is that more likely to get to Dunedin by ferry or by truck and train?
Well, I think a lot of freight, like generally rail freight.
Sorry, I said ferry. What I meant was by ship, like from ports.
Yes. Well, we don't have coastal shipping for a start. This is one of the criticisms about the resilience of the New Zealand network is all of our freight, well, you know, big chunk of our freight is done by road and the rest by rail. And there is almost no coastal shipping in this country. So when we talk about, you know, I mentioned the Southern Fault, and the chat's backed me up here, 75 to 80% chance of the Southern Fault rupturing in the next 50 years. Take out all the road and rail in the South Island, and we have nothing.
So if that 60-inch TV, 65-inch TV at Noel Leemings and Timaru, for example, is coming by train normally, if that's how they do it, and they add $600 to each straight crossing now, that might be another $600. How many TVs would you get in there? Gosh, that might be another $100 on your TV, just like that.
Yeah, the price of containerized freight, it affects everyone. Like this is a reason that our trucking lobby, like you would think that the trucking lobby would be like, nah, we don't care about rail enabled ferries. Everything's trucks. They've been pulling for the ferries to be rail enabled. They know how important it is. So everyone's telling this government that they need to be rail enabled, and they're ignoring them because the government doesn't fucking listen to anyone. Doesn't matter who you are. I think the CEO of Main Freight came out and said that this was a ridiculous thing to do, and hopefully we hear from him again.
Yep. All right. Anything else in the chat you want to get to, or should we go on to have a look at this One News poll about the Treaty Principles Bill, and also that some people have been censured for doing the most Kiwi thing you can do, a haka in Parliament?
No, let's roll on.
TVNZ it was a bit of a throwaway line at the start talking about this story. So I'll just read the story first of all. Because this is the story. 4 MPs referred to Privileges Committee over Parliament Haka. 4 MPs have been referred to Parliament's Privileges Committee following last month's Haka, which interrupted voting on the Treaty Principles Bill in the House. They are Te Pāti Māori co-leaders Debbie Ngarewa-Packer, Rawiri Waititi and MP Hana-Rawhiti Maipi-Clarke, and also Labour MP Peeni Henare. Also been referred. Speaker Jerry Brownlee said he received letters from 3 MPs. Good God. It's just like telling teacher that someone said some mean, nasty words to you. 3 MPs about the incident, which happened during the vote for the first reading of the Treaty Principles Bill. The Speaker had previously named and suspended Maipi-Clarke from the debating chamber for 24 hours after she led the haka on November 14th. He said taking an action to prevent votes being completed is completely unacceptable. The letters I've received name a number of members who participated in a haka in the House. Oh, jeez, it sounds so petty. Brownlee said this afternoon. In particular, 4 members who left their seats to stand on the floor of the House, 3 of those members advancing towards the seats of another party. That is disorderly and cannot be considered anything other than disorderly. During the vote, Maipi-Clarke began the haka by ripping a copy of the legislation before she, along with Ngarewa-Packer and Waititi, approached ACT leader David Seymour. Brownlee added, "I do not make any ruling in this decision about the appropriateness of haka and its place inside the tikanga of the House. This is a matter for the Standing Orders Committee and will be discussed at a meeting later today. However, the issue of members leaving their seats to participate in an activity that was disorderly and disruptive to the procedure of the House is something that could be considered further." The reason it's so mealy-mouthed, mumble-mouthed and pissy is, I think I talked about, there's been a few times I've been watching Parliament that have been quite emotional, and one was, I think it was Pōkari Kariana when the marriage equality bill went through. Technically, Chewie, that's the same thing. People leaving their seats. But it was like a joyous thing, and there wasn't any little pissy right-winger going, "No, I don't like that." But technically, if someone did, would they have upheld it? I suggest not. But in this instance, it's what they're doing. And I thought what we could do, just to also wrap this part of it up, Chewie, is just, can you ever see this too much, really?
New Zealand National.
49 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes opposed.
Green Party of Aotearoa New Zealand.
15 votes opposed.
ACT New Zealand.
11 votes in favour.
New Zealand First.
8 votes in favour.
Te Pāti Māori.
E ono ngā pōti e whakahe. Kawana!
No, don't do that.
Don't do that.
The House is suspended until the ringing of the bells. The gallery is to be cleared.
I mean, can you ever get too much of that? I mean, let's be real. Can you ever get? And even if they're dragged before whatever committee, who wins? Come on, people.
So first things first, my reaction to the person that's raised it with the Privilege Committee is, shut up, nerd. That's straight up the coolest thing that's happened in Parliament for ages. The second part of it is, cool, it's dragged in front of the Privileges Committee. Is it going to stop anyone doing it ever again? No. Like, there are moments of high emotion, and I think this was worthy. And then the other thing was, did it disrupt voting? Actually, it delayed it by a little bit. They had to come back after the House was cleared, and then it was completed. So, there's also something that someone is messaging me at the moment, that the MP that has raised it as an issue about it being so disruptive.
Yeah,
the disruption is the big part here. Was actually caught blocking an intersection in Wellington because she was too busy texting on her phone to see that the light had turned green. So there's that.
I guess we will say there's an allegation there. And if
there's a picture. I'm going to find that picture.
Well, we don't know who is. Are you saying you know who are the complainants, because it hasn't been announced yet, or are you saying we've heard who the complainants are?
I thought we had that name.
Didn't think so. But we can look into that. And whilst we're doing that, let's also now get to the second part of the story. Like, the reason I wanted to play that first is Side Allo here. Basically, it's a throwaway line, and then they get into the latest polling around what New Zealanders think of the Treaty Principles Bill.
Now back here, 4 MPs who broke into a haka during the first reading of the controversial Treaty Principles Bill have been referred to the Privileges Committee. It comes as One News can reveal exclusive poll...
And that's about it. That's really all they say about it. So that's it. And now we'll move on to the research, or to the polling.
Results showing more people oppose the bill than support it. Here's political editor Mikey Sherman.
You don't have to look too hard in Wellington to find support for Te Tiriti and those rallying against the government's Treaty Principles Bill.
This is what's so beautiful, is that the hikoi was actually run by the people, and I think that if you look around the country at the moment, we see a whole lot of people leading.
The words Toi tū Te Tiriti even visible from Wellington's motorway, while those in Christchurch gave their views.
No, I think I oppose it. I don't think the Principles Bill is an accurate representation.
I think there's a lady here who says she's for it, and then they ask why, and she's like, I don't know. And that just feels so on point for so many people who are like playing the tribal game. Well, because my side says we shouldn't be for it. That's how it comes across.
Of the treaty principles.
Well, I support it, yeah.
And what's that?
I don't really know.
I really don't know enough about it.
Probably don't know enough about it.
In our latest poll, we sampled 1,000 voters. 23% support the Treaty Principles Bill, but even more people, at 36%, oppose it.
The problem with this polling is David Seymour will look at it and go, well, there's 40% who we need to convince. You know, so because this isn't over the 50 mark, he will go, well, if we get, 2/3 of them as well, then it's over 50% for the support. I do wonder how you can not know, when they say not know enough about the bill. Well, truthfully, I don't know it word for word, 600 pages, but I know enough to know what it's about. They just must be, unless people, like in America at the moment, people are there's a mass exodus of people away from political news, especially from the mainstream news channels. And they think it's because what's happening in America is that people are like, I can't do this anymore. Trump again, I'm out. Unless the people who don't know enough about the bill have actually signed off since the last election, or they haven't re-engaged yet. But it seems like a very big number, Chewie.
I mean, this is a hard thing for someone like myself that something is generating this sort of heat. You don't know enough about it. You start reading things about it. You start listening to people. You start forming an opinion. We're a year into this, and there's still people walking around on the street going, I don't know, was there a hikoi on? I don't know. New Zealand's biggest ever protest? I don't know about it. Like, I just want to shake people and say, do better.
Yeah.
Like, be interested in what the fuck is going on around you, even if it doesn't directly affect you. Like, this is huge, and it baffles me. But that's just who I am, and I just can't get to the place where, you're just pinballing around life without knowing what people care about.
I mean, you would think the top line, yeah? Like, people are no one's going to go, oh, I don't know enough about the ferries, even if they're not engaged. It's just, as you're saying, this is such a big story. This was wall-to-wall coverage for a week to 10 days when the Hikoi was on. Also, before that, with the activation of Te Pāti Māori and stuff, this has been a big news story. To say I don't know enough about it, I don't know. I wonder if there's also a conflicted group within that subset who are going, you know what? My side is for this, but I'm really not. So I'll just say I don't know enough about it. Because I know that if I say I support it, what that'll look like, and I don't really support it. So maybe it's also a section of them is trying to just sort of get out of having to answer by saying that. I don't know. I don't. I mean, like, this is what I'm trying to say is this is not the example of that deep dive that sometimes those of us who are online 24/7 talking and looking at politics, it's not one of those stories that you have to go 7 layers deep at 1 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday or you'll miss it. It's not one of those. It's in everybody's face all year. To not know enough about the bill, I question why. I don't believe them. I don't believe that 4 out of 10 people are like, I just don't know. My gut says a portion of them do know, they're just choosing not to say, and I wonder why. Sounds arrogant, but that's my thoughts. We'll keep going, eh?
Yeah.
While around the same number don't know enough about it.
I think that's really great. I mean, first of all, to see so many opposed.
Have you lost this argument?
Well, no, not at all. It'd be rather strange to say that you lost it.
Yeah, he's so awkward.
You have. You don't have the support for it. You've lost
awkward.
it.
I don't.
You're standing there like you're out of the fucking Thunderbirds, and you go, "Well, actually, no, I don't think I have." You have. You don't have the support. Everybody says they hate it. Yeah. Everybody. It doesn't matter what the poll of the person in the street, that spokesperson says, "Yeah, I'm for it. I have absolutely no idea why, but I am." It doesn't matter because it's not going to get out of select committee. Like, it's not going to get past its second reading. It is a dead duck. We are just burning a pile of money for your vanity project that is just stirring up so much hate.
Not just his vanity project, also the foundation of his next run in 2026. That's what he's also doing. That's the foundation of what he's going to do into the next election.
Well, no, not at all. It'd be rather strange to say that you'd lost an argument when, the biggest group of people are those making up their minds.
But even as we spoke to David Seymour,
would you mind just stepping away?
His critics weren't far.
No consultation about Te City.
You get to be annoying in Parliament. We only get to be annoying in the streets.
The streets are certainly vocal.
You like that one?
Ladies.
That's a pretty good one.
Well
like that?
done.
His critics weren't far.
No consultation about Te City.
You get to be annoying in Parliament. We only get to be annoying in the streets.
The streets are certainly vocal, as well as those in support.
Luxon needs to bloody realise what the thoughts are of people in the country are. I think he's made the wrong call.
Digging into the numbers, those more likely than average to support.
Why would you poll this? Is this not exactly what everyone would? In fact, I thought it would be 85% of Back Party supporters.
The bill includes 77% of ACT supporters, 48% of New Zealand First, but just 30% of national supporters.
National voters and people who voted for us to rebuild the economy, restore law and order, deliver better health education.
This is David Seymour trying to divide the country for his own political ends.
Would you be concerned if David Seymour continued to push this issue even at the next election?
Well, that's up to him. But it's dead on the water now.
Despite the critics and opposing poll results, the debate is far from over.
Will you push for this referendum at the next election?
Look, we very well might. I've always said we should listen to the people at Select Committee before we go any further.
Submissions are open now, with oral submissions heard at Parliament early next year. Mikey Sherman, One News.
There you go. Yes, so it's unfortunate on some levels that it's only like, what was it, 36%, but it's more than people who want to see it. But that big chunk of people are like, I don't know enough about it. It's like, have you been doing a Luxon? Have you been living overseas for the last 20 years? And you've literally did they do this poll at the airport with people coming home from living in the US for the past 15 years? Is that where that 40%'s come from? This is how it kind of feels.
Yeah, it's baffling. Like it's another one of those ones where, like, if you've got friends that haven't formed an opinion, you should be doing a job to convince them. Seymour reckons that we should listen to everybody that makes a submission as well. And like I said, if you're confident enough to make an oral submission via video chat, or if you're in Wellington, you can go in and make your submission in person, then do so. Like, there's a lot of passion and there's a lot of knowledge in people that have seen right through what Seymour is talking about. And even the people that we've had in our chat, they're like, oh, I don't know, it doesn't seem too bad. We've had enough guests and we've had enough information dropped here to convince those people that it's bad and it's wrong. Every time Seymour has got up to explain his position, he has lied, he has gaslit, he has muddied the waters. His favourite saying on this is that there was an agreement between two races, which it absolutely wasn't. Like, straight out of the gates, that's been his core talking point for it. And the second one was privileges based on races never worked anywhere, any time. And we've disproved that on this show. So he won't come on and talk to us about it because he has fucking lunch money taken from him. I mean, we'd beat him in a debate. So that's it. He's just there. This is cynical. It is about building up a rage base to build his vote.
Yep, the adverts are being written already for the next election. And you know what he's going to be doing? Next election, he'll also be saying, well, guys, we can't trust National or New Zealand First to be our partners because look what we wanted to do, look what they said, and they wouldn't fulfill. So we need more of your vote. He'll try and cannibalize New Zealand First voters, and he'll try and get bigger, which will then give him more power in the negotiating room. And he'll use this as a way to say, National voters, if you want more of this, then you have to come with us because we're the only ones that will do it. Look how National wimped out. The scripts are being written for him.
I think it's backfiring hugely for him. Like it's got our major opposition party leader to say something that's never been said before at that level, that Māori never ceded sovereignty. You know, it's the latest poll results for Te Pāti Māori are amazing.
Yeah.
And it has crystallized a mission statement within Māori to beat this. It will get people that are not engaged in the political process or making a vote to get active. And once they're active, they're active.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know if you're building consensus. I don't know if you're building support for this, David. It's not working in the way that you think it's going to work.
A few messages that have come in around this topic in general from the start of it. The parliamentary haka is just awesome, says Jonathan. Thank you for the super chat. Citizen Gold says there are now 3 instances of leaving of seats. There are repercussions for leaving your seat like that, but none for causing the situations that prompt it. The rules need to be amended. Need amending. Yeah, we said that earlier, you know, like calling someone a liar is like you get sanctioned in the house for calling someone a liar, but the lies that the person is telling, that's fine. We're not gonna challenge you on that. So I feel you, Gold.
It was mentioned on the working group tonight. I believe in the UK Parliament they have a rule called the 2 swords rule. Is that members can't approach closer than 2 sword lengths. Maybe we should have the 2 taiaha rule.
Or just one taiaha, maybe? Why'd you give to go to 2? Maybe we could just go 1. Wooming says the 3 were all government party MPs. Shane Jones, National, Suze Redman, Redmayne, and the Act Wet Blanket, Todd Stevenson. Okay, I haven't read that, but I'll take. I mean, I don't see everything. I'll take that.
So
as
since
gospel.
we're going to talk about that, and it's Sue's Redmayne that I was talking about here. Caught busy texting at a busy intersection. Have you taken control? You've taken control. You've got the article there. The picture of her in the intersection is amazing.
So which one is she?
Because the blue national branded car with her face on the side of it.
So she's just stopped there texting.
Yeah. Yeah. So she's moved out of the intersection, which you can do. One car can enter an intersection while waiting to turn. But certainly not to cross across a line of traffic.
Well,
and that's blocked a lane.
The law is very simple. Is that you're not supposed to enter an intersection unless you're clear to get out of it as well. So you're not supposed to just sit there. You're not supposed to enter this intersection until you can get out of it as well. So that's the first thing she's done wrong.
Would you say that that's disruptive?
Yeah, it's disrupting traffic.
It's quite disruptive.
Dangerous, illegal. It's actually illegal as well. Okay, so that's illegal. That requires a ticket. The Haka, nothing illegal about it. That's actually illegal because that's a rule. Don't enter an intersection unless you can get out of it. And those bastards that do, and they end up being halfway out, and then all the other cars can't go. That's where the backlog starts when you're trying to get off a motorway.
I mean, she is a tremendously important, well-known MP with heavy-hitting portfolios. I love that you get shit from this, like this, from backbench MPs who are just so full of themselves. I'll block a lane of traffic. I'm part of the government.
Literally couldn't be any more of a backbencher. Look, there is the back.
That's
like literally
the
wall.
Who are you texting?
Yeah.
Like the committee that you're late for about what? The strength of tea bags?
Ian also said, should being a politician be a career? Surely that makes ethics and values totally malleable, which alter with the prevailing winds. Should it be a career? I mean, I always have said I want the best people doing the best jobs. I mean, people used to say, because there's this argument that goes, I'm not a politician. I've been in business all my life. And then you get people like Winston Peters saying of those people that they're struggling because they're not qualified to do the job. They don't have the skills of a politician. So yeah, it's
look,
it sounds a little bit.
There's anything wrong with politics being a career?
Like
it's a job.
Yeah.
Like, and I say that, like, when I think of some of the least effective politicians out there, I think the ones that have come in from quite an amateur point of view and are just like, well, you know, my big selling point is that I'm not a politician. It's like your selling point is that you don't know the job that you're doing. It's not a selling point.
Yeah.
Like you look at your local council tables and you'll have fucking, you know, the guy that owns a construction company, and every problem that he solves is, so we'll do some more construction then. You know, a board member, well, I'm not going to take ownership of anything. It's the board's decision. It's
good idea.
Like someone that has come up and studied law, has been involved in student politics, maybe they've been involved in local government or NGOs or something like that. They're going to bring a very specific skill set to the table. Someone that comes in from a business point of view is going to bring a business. Now, I'm not saying like if you're a businessman, stay the fuck out of politics. They have their things to add as well. But for someone to go, my strength is I am not a politician, waves such big red flags for me.
Could you imagine that in any other work? You're getting brain surgery. Well, you know, my strength in being a brain surgeon is I'm not a brain surgeon and have never been one. So that's why you're going to come to me.
Any other field.
I mean, even think about a less serious outcome. I'm going to do your digital marketing for you, for your company, and my benefit is I've never worked in digital marketing, so I bring a different angle to your product. It's so stupid.
And you see that everywhere. Like you've got like in America at the moment, Elon with his fucking Doge bullshit. Like, he's coming at it from a well, I make businesses more efficient. Well, that's arguable, but let's say that you do. And you're coming into government to make it more efficient. The things that make businesses more efficient don't apply. It's like literally going to another planet, which is something that Elon also hasn't done, even though he promised he would by now. So, I mean, I guess that works.
He's on
but
another
the things that make a business work, selling a product for more than you paid for it, providing a service and covering your costs and all of that sort of thing. The covering your costs, sure, but it's not the same thing. It's not done in the same way. There was a survey on the local council down here in Dunedin, and I can see why it was put out. They were basically looking for a thing for people to go, like they always do. We want lower rates.
Yeah.
We don't care what happens. We just want lower rates. Do you know the answer they got back? We want you to do more with the money we give you.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want you to do less to get to cheaper rates. We want you to do more so we see the value of what we give you. That's the argument. That's the thing. My taxes haven't got nominally cheaper at all to a point that I would notice. But I would certainly notice if public services got better.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
I don't know how I got to this point, but I feel like it's a good one.
Peter Syme says a mix is needed. We do need more teachers, nurses, retail workers, and such like in office to prevent that disconnect with normal people. Yeah, I agree. But that's like saying, I mean, like Chewie just said, people who are saying if you've been a lifelong politician, there are some who kind of believe that almost should preclude you from being a politician. Well, it shouldn't. There should be some of those, and then there should be people with less experience. It's the same as any job. Same as any job.
If we want to shake it up, right? Because we are going to shake it up when we take power. And I think one of the things that we should do is we should mandate that every party have a percentage of their party, percentage of their MPs, their seats, their whole organisation made up of retired bricklayers. Because that would really cut through the bullshit.
And
like, let's get this committee wrapped up. I'm going to have a smoke and a V before 10.
Just be in the boardroom and just throw ideas at them and see what comes back. Throw the idea and see what comes back. Cool bananas. All right, hey team. We've pretty much wrapped up for the night. Is there anything you want to get out of the chat, or are we just going to say good night and move on?
Belfast Child says unbelievable incompetence. That could be directed at us. That could be directed at the government. We'll never know.
I think it's us.
Okay, that makes sense. I like this comment though. My 71-year-old mum watches you guys now. Finally, a left-leaning platform she reckons, and I hope that my swearing is keeping a level to keep her happy. One thing, this was commented on last night and tonight, and look, I do want to talk about this. I just haven't had time to dig into the story.
I heard
the government's announcement yesterday.
Yeah, I heard the phrase IPO mentioned around Kiwi Bank,
Mm.
like it was going to be floated on the stock exchange. I know nothing about it. I haven't gone any further, but I saw a story and I heard them say an IPO would be like they were launching stocks or something.
I wonder if we can track down someone that can educate us on this, Pat. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. But, I mean, I read that story yesterday, and on my initial pass on that story, I went, oh, Kiwi Bank getting more money. That can't be a bad thing because they have struggled to compete with some of the Aussie banks. And then I've seen comments here like Mike's going, this is privatization. And I'm like, how does that work with a bank? So yeah, it's something I want to look at.
All right, let's have a look then, shall we? Government inches towards Kiwi Bank part privatisation, asking Kiwi savers local funds to invest 500 million. I'm not reading all the way through, but however she added, not sure who she is, perhaps it's Willis. Yep, they're Willis there. The most accessible source of additional capital for Kiwi Bank likely to be through public share offering. Okay, so we are right, which would involve the government selling it selling at least part of the bank. Willis said that Kiwi Bank would not be ready for public offering until the bank's digital transformation was complete, which is expected in 2028. No decision on an initial public offering, IPO, will be made in this term of government. Willis said that if an IPO was not approved in future, the government could offer investors the option to sell their shares back to the Crown at an independently assessed fair value. So there you go. That was what it was. So it was talking about floating shares.
Yeah. I mean, this is certainly one of the things that I would go, gee whiz, I sure hope this country doesn't have too much money tied up in the housing market. You know, if investors wanted to pour their own money into the National Bank, then that would be a good thing.
Well, we'll just chase that, shall we? I want to remind you all as well that patreon.com/Big Hairy News this Saturday morning is the meetup. You also get lots of tidbits of information and things just for patrons, like early access when we have sales, early access when we've got long form interviews. Well, that's a good picture, isn't it? Pictures of us eating food for Christmas and yada, yada, yada. Patreon.com/Big Hairy News. And remember, we have got our merch shop open for some things at the moment. The NickyNoBoats. These might be collector's editions after tomorrow. You know, you might want to get in there sooner rather than later because they might go. Still got NickyNoBoats merch up there. NickyNoBoats stickers as well. Also group stickers. You can get packs of 4 or 8 of all of our sticker pack at the moment, and the others individuals as well. The buff one obviously is going pretty red hot at the moment, and you can buy that in as one sticker, 5 packs or 10 packs as well for the buffer sticker, the Tino Rangatiratanga. As those of us who are not Māori want to, as Professor Margaret Mutu told us, and that video is right there if you want to see it, be buffers to support the Māori community. All right, that's me, Chewie. Me and Nala are done. Hey, Nala. Yep.
I've got one last thing.
Yep.
Because it's funny. You know, Luxon's little Spotify I'm a Human That Listens to Music thing.
Yep.
National, and I assume their social media team wanted to make hay on that. And as mentioned here by someone on the NZ Politics subreddit, mentioned that this is National doing the basics brilliantly. If we go to item number 4, I'm sure that's supposed to say structured maths and literacy, and they have structured completely wrong. It could not be better. Like, for it to be on the item that's about literacy and to be completely mangling a word, to be that their slogan was doing the basics brilliantly.
K-A-T for
just
cat.
Amazing. The fact that their social media team have 7 people in it, and I assume they all had a part in this. They've got 7 people went, yep, that's good. Hit post. Fucking brilliant.
Very good. All right, team. Been a good night tonight. Thank you for joining us. Great to be with you. Tomorrow night we'll probably have a couple of guests on, maybe someone for the ferries. We'll think about that. And also, of course, we've got our Māori translator guest coming on to talk to us more about what's happening with Te Tiriti at the moment and what this government's trying to do. So that's all up tomorrow night. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you then.
Help us settle a debate, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate. It's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand in. As many points as the hairs on my chinny chin chin. When the news that we're watching is hairy, knowing all the things
All right, team, that's us. Catch you tomorrow night from 9 o'clock for another edition of Big Hairy News live here at 9. We will see you then. Anything else, Chewie?
No, nothing from me.
All right. Anything from you, Nala? No, nothing from Nala. We'll see you tomorrow night from 9 p.m. Hooroo, team.
Cheers, fam.